for our children.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, everybody. I just want to add to the modular accommodation. There are a number of schools who are waiting. Maybe Mr. Loftus might just give me a brief on when they will be informed. Some of them are accommodating classes in their general purpose areas and maybe even their school halls. So will they be remedied for the coming school year?
Sorry. Yeah, no, thank you, Deputy, for the question. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like we have a very strong rollout of projects, both mainstream, traditional and modular, and certainly we're engaging with a lot of schools in relation to that. And yeah, like one of the benefits of modular accommodation, we have a framework in place, you know, which assists with procurement delivery. And just to add to the point that the previous Deputy raised, modular accommodation, it's a very strong, robust, permanent solution. We've had very positive feedback in relation to the quality of that, and certainly we see it as an important delivery mechanism. And just because my clock is ticking,
I accept that. I might need a further meeting on certain projects that we
could,
rather than
I'm happy
hold
to
up the
talk
committee.
directly to
I'm just
in
concerned
that
I know you worked very hard over the summer last year, and sometimes that's when you engage with the principal, or the people concerned. It's just to be sure that we don't have a continuation of prefab cabins or the school hall as opposed to a classroom setting. I want to come to Ms. Conduit. Ms. Conduit, in March of this year, the representation was made by a party colleague of the Minister to the Department of Education with regards to school transport. A bus was laid on from Callan in County Kilkenny into Kilkenny City, a third bus on that route. How did that come about, please?
Thank you for the question, Deputy. As you're aware, there's a large number of children on school transport every year. Some 70% of those are eligible and they qualify under the scheme.
Now, in March of this year, a third bus was laid on. Why was it laid on in March and not September?
Yeah, but just to put it in context.
Oh no, everyone knows the context of how the school transport scheme works, and I don't have much time. I'll have to come back in. So answer please specifically how a third bus was laid on for the students that were requiring it in September. It happened in March. How and why?
Well, Bus Éireann work throughout the year for children who've applied for school transport and where families have paid on time if they're due to pay for a ticket. So we try to show...
These were all concessionary ticket holders, all.
I think in some cases, I think on those particular routes, there are children where there was schools that were at capacity in the area. So they were identified as TAMs, so the temporary alleviation measure, where you're attending your second school, your second closest school, but you will be eligible for your first. These children were not able to get into their closest school, so they then became
then they're not concessionary
TAMs.
Ticket holders. They're not concessionary ticket holders if they had been turned down by their closest school. Ms. Conduit, a third bus was laid on in March. How and why? Why wasn't it laid on in September?
Because I think those issues were being worked through with Bus Éireann.
Okay. Do we still have 3 buses on that route?
Yes.
Well, my information tells me differently, that all the students are now being accommodated on the original 2 buses. The third bus was laid on for 1 week. 1 week only, and then all the students that couldn't be catered for in September are now being catered for on the 2 original buses.
To the best of my knowledge, any bus on those routes has either eligible children, TAMS children, or children identified.
That wasn't the question I asked. The question I asked was, are there 2 buses on the route now or 3?
I'll have to come back to you on that.
Well, please do. And would you also come back on why it occurred and how it occurred? My information is that a deputy colleague of the Minister arranged a meeting and that he was of the opinion he was going to get no votes in the general election, and that's what was muted in front of the parents to the Minister, as the parents had told him that, and a bus was laid on 2 weeks later for 1 week. Now, I have a similar situation, as a matter of fact, 2 similar situations in Wexford. Now, I'm not a party colleague of the Minister, I'm an independent deputy in the opposition. My parents haven't been given the same treatment. But I would expect that if the department is going to make an exception, and this isn't a TAMS exception, because I've checked it, it's not a TAMS exception at all, but I would expect that we would have the very same treatment in Wexford that we would have in Kilkenny. regardless of who the minister is or who the deputy is representing the issue. Would you agree with that?
I'm aware that there are children in your constituency. I think that you have been in close engagement with the department for those children, and I think, you know, information has been requested. I don't think some of those families have applied to Bus Éireann. I would urge that anyone
Some of those families haven't applied on the basis that they're not entitled to the ticket because they're not going to the nearest school. The latest review says that we're going to do away with all that. The latest review says, contrary to the accounts of 339 million, the transport costs of Bus Éireann must have increased by 100 million because the review says it costs 444 million. And I don't know whether the independent review is incorrect, but the accounts here show 339 million.
That was, sorry, excuse me for interrupting, Deputy, that was in 2022.
The 339. So
yeah.
we have 100 million of an increase to date, is that it?
That's because we're accommodating far more children on the scheme than we ever have. And
well, actually,
you know,
you're not, actually, because not in Wexford the figures don't show that.
There's a 5% increase in tickets
That's because we have, excuse me, catering for the Ukrainian population.
Not all.
Almost all. We've already thrashed this out at PQ level. It's almost all Ukrainian population. So in fact, there's actually no increase. Has been. You're dead right though. When it came to catering for the population that came from war and torn countries, there were buses laid on, no issue. I accept that. We have a huge issue, as you will well know, where Bus Éireann continue to refuse to allow people over 70 years of age drive buses. That is creating I've been talking about that for 10 years. I've been requesting a review of that for 10 years. What has the department done?
Could I come in on that, or if you prefer to speak to Ms. Conduit?
I don't, as long as you have an answer.
Okay, so I'm happy to come in on that, Deputy. And just on the previous point of, you know, there are 163,500 children travelling on Bus Éireann now.
That's not the answer.
It's a significant
Don't waffle
increase.
with figures. I want answers.
Sorry,
please.
Deputy, respectfully.
I want answers, respectfully.
Hold on a second. There's a question being asked about the over 70s.
Yeah, happy to answer that.
I need to give
Thanks,
a
Chair.
chance to answer. So
there has been a
70s.
significant, I just want to say on the funding issue, because it is important, there's a significant increase in the number of children travelling on buses that has warranted extra cost. But the question on the over 70, Bus Éireann, this is a policy of Bus Éireann's, and it is based, they tell us, we constantly bring it up with them, they tell us that it is based on evidence. And there is, if you talk to the Road Safety Authority, or if you look at international research, and there's research in Finland, there's research in Canada, that shows that as we get older, we have comorbidities, we're on medication, there's cognitive decline, eyesight decline.
Thanks, Ms. McNally. Do you understand that the Department of Transport through the NDLS have increased the medical to the age of 75?
Yes.
Now,
Deputy.
what you're saying then, that's not credible, is it? With regards to the department, it's not credible, is it?
Deputy, I think sorry, if I can answer.
Is it credible?
Answer the question.
A binary answer, please, Ms. McNally. Is it credible to say that because of medications and this, that and the other, we've increased the medical age requirement by 5 years, and Bus Éireann still insist on this, and you're tendering them?
So, Deputy, what is important here, and I, you know, my opinion doesn't matter, we have to look at international evidence on this. And what the international evidence says is that if I am driving...
more important when it came to the medical aspect and the road safety aspect.
So, Deputy, bus drivers, school bus drivers are driving buses with up to 53 children and young people on them. That is a significant responsibility.
Ms. McNally, they can drive for a private operator as long as they're not on the school bus run at 80, carrying 55 or 4 children.
Deputy, again, having read, I've looked at the research, the research from Finland, the research from Canada, what the Road Safety Authority are saying.
It would appear that you're more intent on reading than you are dealing with facts. And unfortunately, that's a significant issue within our departments. Incompetence. Because when you apply the facts that you're speaking about to the actual facts on the ground, they make no sense. And as a SecGen, I would have thought you'd have understood that, because one department doesn't know what the other is doing with regards to driving and driver safety.
Deputy,
you're the one who is charged with the school transport system, and it is causing very significant issues for the working parents and the taxpayers in this country. And it's you that the buck should stop with.
And I'm
Because-
happy, Deputy, that it does. I am very happy on that.
Well, you're
As I
not
said,
being proactive in doing anything about it.
Deputy,
You're just waffling.
we are
waffling.
working constantly
Waffling,
with Bus Éireann.
repeating insignificant facts.
Deputy, I just remind you just to be careful with language, please. Could you just clarify this?
Could have
Because
said
there's
worse, Chair.
There's some, I'd ask you not to. Could we just clarify this point in relation to who makes the decision with the 70? My understanding is that 75 for private bus drivers can go beyond 70, okay? But Bus Éireann, and you mentioned this, Bus Éireann decided this. Is it Bus Éireann or the department?
So this is the policy of Bus Éireann, who operates the scheme on our
It's the policy
behalf.
of Bus Éireann?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, just to clarify that.
So,
Do
Chair,
you have-
I'm aware of
do you
that
have any
fact for
control over
10
that?
years.
We constantly discuss that with them, but they have provided, we have interrogated why their position is that way. And it is about 52 children and young people. It is significant responsibility. Also, they're doing this 5 days a
outrageous to
week,
repeat
early
that.
mornings, afternoons. If I'm 71 and I have bad eyesight, I might choose not to go out in the lashing rain or in fog.
Miss
But
McNally, sorry,
school
Chair.
bus
I'm
drivers
sure Miss McNally doesn't
get to
seem
choose
to
the
understand
conditions.
that a 75-year-old driver
Thank
can
you.
arrive at the school to
Thank
take
you.
a tour to Dublin,
you.
driving a 52-seater, but he can't get them from
Okay.
home to school, which
you.
is the issue for the working parent.
We have a new member of the committee, Deputy.